Deep in the ocean, an orca pod is on the hunt. But these aren't your average orcas. These guys are organized.
Marketing team, did you get those social media posts scheduled for the SEAL migration?
Aye, Captain. We even have an automated notification for all pod managers when they go live.
They use Monday.com to keep their teamwork sharp, their communication clear, and their goals in sight. Monday.com. For whatever you run, even orcas. Go to Monday.com to dive deeper.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Welcome back to another episode of Investies. I'm your host, Linda Garcia. This week on the podcast, we are going to take a deeper dive on the post-election rally. I'm also going to discuss a little bit about my personal portfolio and some thoughts that I have surrounding investing during this time. Investies, the market is reaching new all-time highs every single day. The growth that we have seen is astronomical. We are for sure feeling euphoric in the market, which is always a time to be extremely cautious. A lot of people naturally want to buy into the market during this time. This really isn't a time to buy in. This is a time to celebrate the investments that you've made, watch them increase. Anytime there is euphoria at this level, we should always be anticipating a pullback. Now, I am recording this episode relatively early, so a lot can take place from today up until when you actually hear this episode and it is published. As you know, I record my episodes on Wednesdays. It is Monday, November 11th. I do have a really packed week. I'm headed to Austin this evening, and I have several meetings out there for the next few days. I rush back on Thursday to go listen to Fed Chair Powell speak live here in Dallas. I am super excited for getting to listen to him speak live. I'm excited for the things that he has to potentially say in terms of the future of monetary policy, especially with this shift in transition of power. Just to put this into perspective, there is not a person famous enough on planet Earth that could make me this excited. Now, this could be because I am somewhat jaded. I did work in Hollywood. I got to be in close proximity and in some cases work with A-list actors. I mean, I was at a wedding not that long ago with 150 people, and one of those guests was Bad Bunny. I got to dance next to him on the dance floor. So I don't know. It could just be that I'm extremely jaded. But when I was told that I would get to attend this meeting, and I'm still having conversations on whether I can actually meet him in person, I started crying. That is how freaking excited I am to get to hear him speak live. This is a really big deal for me right now at this moment in my life. I do have crazy dreams or goals to one day potentially impact monetary policy on a federal level. I think it's just about where I am in my life. I really admire what Fed Chair Powell has been able to do. I have watched him extremely closely as he navigated COVID, as he navigated inflation. And a lot of people don't understand this, but Fed Chair Powell's position is hands down the most powerful position in the world. A lot of folks, because they don't understand how economics works, don't really credit or may find it easy to dismiss the chairman of the Federal Reserve. But it's important for us to know that the Federal Reserve controls the money, and the money controls everything else. I will be sure to share with you on next week's episode any key points that he discussed, anything that I found interesting that stood out to me. So stay tuned for that.
Time to play Best Fins, a match game with a zest. Among millions of players, can you become the best? No need to invest. Your free download awaits. With 9,000 levels, you'll be quite impressed. No Wi-Fi needed, just be our guest. At Best Fins, you'll be gaming at your best. Download Best Fins for free now. No need to wait. Wait? That doesn't rhyme. Never mind. Download Best Fins, it's great. Available in App Store and Google Play.
Ready to launch a career and future you can be proud of? Welcome to Merrill, where an industry-leading advisor training program will help you get licensed. And with lead gen support from Bank of America's vast customer base, you'll get the referrals you need to establish your own practice. It's time to see your career charge forward with Merrill. Apply now at careers.bankofamerica.com. Copyright 2024 Bank of America Corporation.
Moving on to the market, I do want to get a bit more granular on why we have seen explosive growth, because the growth has continued not just over the last 3 months, but after we received confirmation on the election of Trump, we saw a huge jump up. And then every day since then, we have seen new all-time highs. There has to be something more than just the election and the confirmation of the election, and I want to talk about that next. Trump has promised that he is going to fire Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler is the chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission, also known as the SEC. The Securities and Exchange Commission is an independent agency of the United States federal government. It was created in order to protect investors and ensure the integrity of the market. So its job is to prevent market manipulation. This agency was created back in 1929 in the aftermath of the Wall Street crash, when there was a lot of market manipulation taking place. One of the biggest reasons why Gary Gensler has been targeted is because of the criticism over how he has handled cryptocurrency regulation. He has been called the innovation killer of cryptocurrency. Back in September, the Compliance and Corporate Affairs Officer of Robinhood Markets, Dan Gallagher, spoke before Congress, and this is what he had to say. The SEC has engaged in regulation by enforcement, which is bad for American consumers who want greater access to digital assets. It's bad for the innovation in the blockchain and digital asset industries. It is bad for the already eroding and competitive position of the U.S. with regard to digital asset markets. From my personal perspective, I do feel that for some time, the SEC did make it a bit risky to be invested in crypto or to start a position in crypto, because we were unsure on how crypto was going to be regulated, if it was going to be regulated. Despite me personally having a small investment in crypto, I have been warning against investing in crypto because I have been worried about what the SEC Commission was going to do in terms of regulating crypto. I've been talking about this for several years now. It's even in my book on the potential regulations. And so the removal of Gary and potentially putting someone in place that is not going to be a detriment to digital assets and could instead stimulate the innovation of assets is probably what's most likely going to happen. And so for this reason, we are seeing a very strong catalyst in Bitcoin, which has also reached new all-time highs. As of recording this on Monday, November 11th, Bitcoin is at $86,000. So the Trump election is not only impacting the stock market, it's also impacting Bitcoin. But we can circle all of that back around to the stock market because now we have stocks like Coinbase, like Robinhood, like the Cathie Wood stocks that have now also benefited off of this catalyst. I don't know that I've ever mentioned Cathie Wood on this podcast. I want to say that I probably have not. I used to talk about Cathie Wood a lot. Cathie Wood is someone that we continuously discussed in my Patreon group, In Luz We Trust, where we would talk about specific stocks and their potential. Cathie Wood is actually one of my absolute favorite analysts. She is also the founder of ARK Invest, which has different ETFs that you can invest into. An ETF is a basket of stocks versus just investing into one stock. Specifically, you can invest into a basket of stocks. Now, Cathie Wood, as an analyst, has had a very interesting track record. She was one of the first analysts to accurately predict where the future of Tesla stock would be. She was made fun of for her prediction, but she saw something really important that a lot of analysts in the industry were unable to see. And what she saw was the inability of someone that is solely focused on financials to be able to predict the future value of a technology company. This was such a revolutionary moment to me personally in the market because she understood that unless you are an engineer, unless you are a scientist, it's going to be very difficult for you to quantify the actual value of a tech company that is publicly traded. And so she began to hire engineers. She began to hire people that really understood the tech sector to help quantify the future of a company and where it was headed, its ability to potentially achieve what the company is promising to achieve. As I mentioned earlier, Cathie Wood was made fun of. She was ridiculed. She's been called crazy. This has all been by, of course, a group of men that were unable to see her perspective or her vision. She ended up being right when it came to Tesla stock. Now, we are in the midst of her new predictions on where certain stocks are headed. She garnered almost like a cult following during COVID because of her prediction on Tesla, because of her being accurate on Tesla. So we did see a crazy increase in growth on some of the other stocks that she had been predicting price targets on. We did see a huge crash from those stocks, which I think was definitely merited because the type of growth that we saw during COVID was unsustainable. And so what we are seeing now is, I think, can I say the return of the Cathie Wood stocks? I don't know. I'm looking at my portfolio and I have to say that I am seeing ridiculous growth. I do feel that the growth I'm seeing in this portfolio is pretty unsustainable. It's definitely giving me 2020 vibes in terms of how a lot of these stocks were growing exponentially. I am definitely not a buyer here. If anything, I have spent the last, I would say even several months analyzing my portfolio. In just the last several months since September, I have been selling out of some stocks. I have sold out of $50,000 worth of stocks. I am going to continue selling into the new year. I am going to potentially work on creating some stop losses in my portfolio so that I can lock in some of the gains that I have had Really quickly for our newer investors, what stop losses are. It is a safeguard that you can put in place in your portfolio where the portfolio will be set to sell any stocks if it hits a specific number. So let's say, for example, that a share is currently trading at $100, just to make this easy. And I set a stop loss for $89. And what I'm telling my portfolio is that if the stock goes down to $89 or below, I want you to immediately sell me out. Without me having to be present, my portfolio will sell me out of the stock if it hits that low number. So I am currently reviewing my portfolio and potentially putting in some stop losses. Now, these are investments that I have been invested into for a really long time. This is also a way to just safeguard the exponential growth that I've had. That money will then be set aside, and I will wait for an opportunity to buy back into the market. One thing about the market that I've learned is that it's always going to correct itself. And so I will most likely wait for a correction so I can start buying back in. I'm not a buyer here. I am just going to enjoy the growth that I have had and protect my growth. For some stocks and for other stocks, just continue to hold and let them ride. My portfolio is up another 10,000 this morning. It feels like every time I wake up, it's up another 10, 15,000 every day, which is really crazy. So just to share and give you a little bit of perspective on my portfolio, when I'm looking at the percentage in growth in just the last 3 months, and why I want to protect it and why I'm looking at stop losses at this point in my portfolio's maturity is because I have reached growth of 136% in just the last 3 months. 136% in just the last 3 months. Since that low in August, that is how much my portfolio has grown. And so it's time for me to protect some of that growth. Again, I know that what comes up must go down. And so I just want to protect some of that growth that I've had so that I could take advantage of the market coming down. I really, truly hope that if you are listening to me right now on this podcast on Investies, that you have a portfolio and that you have begun investing into the stock market. I can't express enough how important it is to be a direct owner in the products that we are already consuming. If you haven't started, then I highly recommend that you purchase my book, Wealth Warrior. You can find the book at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your local bookstore. You could even get the book on Audible or wherever you purchase audiobooks. It's an easy how to get started. I appreciate you all. Thank you for listening to Investies. I'm your host, Linda Garcia. This is a Cosmic Standard and In Luz We Trust production. A special thank you to the team, Asia Simpson, Eliza Smith, and Jacob Winnick.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.